Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast. The podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it, and also with food, and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And today I'm talking with Meg, a holistic nutritionist from Toronto, Canada, who was diagnosed with anorexia as a young teenager and spent many years in and out of treatment before finally reaching full recovery in her late 20s. Meg shares bravely about her behaviour with binging and restricting, emotional eating, and her own perfectionism, and what she learned about building a peaceful relationship with food. We'll get to our chat in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to sugarcravingsfree.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at sugarcravingsfree.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at sugarcravingsfree.com. And to go even deeper, buy my new book, Break Free from Sugar Cravings, in either paperback, ebook, or audiobook format, available now on Amazon in most countries. Type in the search bar, Break Free from Sugar Cravings, or just my name, Netta Gorman. And on social media, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. All right, let's get to my chat with Meg. All right, so I'm here today with Meg in Toronto in Canada. And Meg, can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, how you grew up, and what you used to eat as a child?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Toronto. I grew up with, I think like a lot of people, a bit of a disjointed family. My parents separated when I was 11. They divorced when I was 13. And shortly after they divorced, I actually lived just with my mother. And I grew up in Toronto with my siblings. And otherwise, I think had like a pretty uneventful childhood. I did struggle with my relationship with my dad, which was why I lived with my mother. And I ate super normally as a kid, and that's so different to everyone.
Yeah.
But I loved having cereal for breakfast. I took my lunch to school. We would have family dinners. I'm German and Polish, but we ate like a very like North American meat and potatoes kind of diet. Um, it wasn't until I was 11, when I started having eating issues. And I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was 13 years old.
And it was actually diagnosed?
Yes. Yeah. My parents noticed that as a kid who loved to eat and eat a lot, I wasn't really eating. I also grew up in the dance world, and I think that definitely had an effect on like my body image and things like that. Um, and after years and years of work and therapy, I think that a lot of it stemmed from a very perfectionist gene that I had in me. And I just wanted to be perfect for at school, in the dance world, for my parents, for my friends, the best daughter, the best sister, the best student, and the best eater.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really where it stemmed from.
And the best non-eater came from that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. When you're 11 years old, I don't think you quite have a concept of dieting per se. I think that's something that as I grew older, morphed with my perfectionism, like having the perfect diet and staying very controlled and having certain food rules that you stay within. But when you're 11, I don't think that concept truly exists, and it kind of just it was just kind of like how can I get my body to be a certain way?
Mm.
All I know is how to manipulate my food.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the one thing you can control, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And was it the quantity of food that was like the thing that you concentrated on, or was it the types of foods, or what was it?
When I was younger, it was strictly the quantity. Again, I think at 11 years old, it's really hard to wrap your head around food types and what food even does inside your body.
Yeah.
And as I got older, and again, as those food rules started to become stronger, it was food types. I cut out food groups. I cut out certain kinds of foods. I started counting things. I started learning a lot about like portions, and that's where it became not only more controlled, but more exhausting and difficult and just unsustainable.
Yeah. And so you were diagnosed at the age of 13. How much did you weigh? Is that a question I can ask?
Yeah, I mean, I would just maybe put out some sort of trigger warning. I know some people have difficulty with numbers, but when I was diagnosed, I mean, I was sick all throughout my 20s, and I think it's kind of hard when you're a 13-year-old, you're a kid, you're small anyway.
Yeah.
I think I weighed about 80 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long did your anorexia last?
It's a really interesting question because I went into treatment when I was 13, and I gained weight, and I was in and out of treatment until I was 25, going up and down and up and down and up and down. Um, and so some people could say, well, it lasted until I gained weight, but I think it lasted until I was 29 years old and
Wow.
sought recovery.
What moved the needle for you at the age of 29 that hadn't from the age of 13?
I think it's really tough when you are a minor, first of all, and you don't make the decision. My parents took me to a therapist, my parents took me to the doctor, my parents took me to the hospital. I had to go into treatment. Even when I was an adult in the adult system, the ultimatums came from my family. You have to go to treatment or you can't live at home. We're cutting you off. It was never really my decision until at 29, it was my decision. I hadn't been in treatment for about 5 years. I was out of the hospital. I had a job, I had a partner, I had my own apartment, I was living life, but I was still engaging in behaviors, and that was binging and restricting, dieting, overeating, overexercising, all of these behaviors that come with the eating disorder.
Mm.
And I remember one day I had done like a really intense workout and I hadn't eaten yet that day and I was so tired. I was so exhausted. And I fell on the couch and I was just crying because like I'm so hungry, but I can't eat yet. But I'm really hungry, but I know if I start eating, I'm not going to stop eating and I don't want that to happen. So I can't start eating, but I'm so hungry. And it was just like I just broke down.
Wow.
And my partner was like, "What's going on?" And I all I could say was, "I just want to be normal." And
Mm.
he didn't really get it, but I think in that moment I was like, there's got to be something more than this. This can't
Yeah.
be life.
Wow. That's tough because to have that level of self-awareness, to even like be able to analyze, if you will, I just want to be normal. Even that, you need to have some part of you that is calm enough to recognize it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that having been in and out of eating disorder treatment for over a decade, for nearly 15 years, I think I had an awareness. And I think I had an awareness that I had an eating disorder, that I wasn't well, that this wasn't normal. But I also got a message for many, many years that you will never recover. You just have to learn how to live with it. And so I think I thought, well, this is just me living with it. This is it. This is as
Yeah.
good as it gets. Um, but I was so unhappy that I sought something better.
Mm. Yeah. What kind of help did you get when you were in treatment?
When I was in treatment, we got I'm very lucky where I am in Toronto. I got a lot of help. We had psychiatrists, we had nurse practitioners, we had therapists, we had social workers, we had dietitians. We had a full team at our disposal. Um, and that being said, I think that there's something really special and wonderful about that. And when you're not ready for help, it's not helpful.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. So I got a lot of help in the sense that like I learned a lot of tools. I learned a lot about CBT and DBT and emotion regulation. And I learned that I could eat and it wasn't going to kill me. And I learned, I also learned in a way from other people in treatment what I don't want my life to be like and what I want out of life. Um, so I think I learned a lot in treatment. And I also think there were a lot of gaps.
Yeah. And were you were you told like what to eat or how much to eat or not what not to eat or how, like how did it really look during the treatment?
Yeah, yes, to all of those things. And I think that's very frustrating when it comes to eating disorder recovery. I was told what to eat, how much to eat, when to eat, what not to eat, how to eat. Um, like I remember one time I was eating dinner and I was eating all my vegetables first, and they said, you can't do that. And I was like, why not? I saved the best for last. What do you
Mm.
mean? And so there were so many rules and it was frustrating because I understand why rules are in place when you're in a group setting. I completely get it, but everyone is different, and we can't have this cookie cutter treatment when it comes to eating disorders. And it also skews your relationship with food and your eating in another direction where you think, okay, well, it's not okay if I eat this much or avoid these foods, but it's also not okay if I mix these two condiments together, and it's not okay if I just want to enjoy a diet soda because I'm diabetic. Like
Mhm.
it really skews your perception of like what is good for me and my body.
Right, right. And now you're diabetic?
I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 13 as well. They actually caught it while I was in the hospital at 13 with anorexia.
Okay. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot to deal with at the
Yeah.
age of 13, at any age, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you realize that your eating disorder was connected to your emotions?
I think I think it really changed into emotional eating when I was 19 or 20. I think I really realized it when I was about 21. And I remember my sister, God bless her, I love her. She was a bit of a shit disturber as a kid, and
Yeah.
she ran away from home. And I was so worried and I was so anxious. And my immediate reaction was, I've got to go have some ice cream. And
Huh.
I remember I had the ice cream in my hands. I remember stopping and I was like, I'm not hungry though. I know I'm anxious. Why is this my reaction? And it was kind of like a light bulb moment. And obviously that didn't like stop me. Emotional eating it's not that easy.
It's
But
not
I think that's when
rational.
I really realized like I just want to eat when I have these feelings.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And how long did it last before you kind of learned how to cope in other ways?
Ooh, it felt like forever. Um, I started my recovery journey in 2020 after I had that moment of flopping on the couch and just wanting to be normal. And I started working with a therapist and a coach and diving into intuitive eating, which I think is a bit of a buzzword, and not a lot of people truly understand what it is
Yeah.
because there was a big part of it that was learning how to deal with your emotions so that you're not turning to food. And that's when that piece started. And it was a really long time. It was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of setbacks. It was a lot of building upon foundations and throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. And it took me probably about 18 months to feel like I've got a good hold on this. I can feel my feelings and not turn to food.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. Um, what kinds of feelings? You were mentioning anxiety. What kinds of feelings, if you can name them, would you say you had when you felt like reaching for the ice cream, for example?
Definitely anxiety, definitely things like sadness, anger, um, boredom is a huge one.
Yeah.
That was a feeling. It happened a couple of times when I felt almost so elated and so excited that I didn't know what to do with it. And I think it was really just any emotion that I wasn't comfortable feeling. And I think we all feel uncomfortable being bored or lonely or sad or even too excited. And it was when I can't deal with that feeling,
Mm.
I need food to just numb it out, to make it be quiet. So it was a lot of feelings that I had that I turned to food.
Like we all do. Well, I wouldn't say we all do, but most of us do because we
Yeah.
never learned any other way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And I think that was a big struggle. That was something that I think I sort of fell into by myself when I started binging out of hunger. And I was like, it has this other function, it has this other purpose because you're right, I didn't learn another way to deal with those things.
I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. Which is partly why I asked you what went on during your treatment, because learning emotional regulation or how to name your feelings or what to do with all these feelings
Hmm.
is really not something that most of us ever learned.
No. And I think that all of those are invaluable tools. And I think again, treatment saved my life. It's so important. And if you're struggling with an eating disorder, treatment can be a hugely important piece. I think for me personally, a part of the gap was I was introduced to these tools and these modalities, but there wasn't enough individual work or even time spent in treatment to really understand how to apply them to my real life.
Mm.
So I could name my feelings. I knew how to identify thinking traps. I knew what were maybe eating disorder thoughts versus my thoughts, but I had learned about them in this bubble of treatment amongst 10 other women. So I got 10% of the time. And so I'm put back in my regular life dealing with other feelings and emotions and stressors. And all of a sudden I felt lost.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, it's really difficult to apply it to real life, yes, out of that bubble. And so you were saying that at the age of 29, you consider that you were not cured exactly, but what would you say? What word did you use?
Fully recovered.
Fully recovered.
Yeah.
What does being fully recovered look like on a daily basis?
Oh, wow, it's heaven. I think it's really interesting. It's not it's not exciting because it's kind of just like being normal. And I think from an eating disorder perspective, what that looks like is I don't have any behaviors. I don't restrict my food. I don't binge on food. I don't I don't compensate my food. I don't over exercise. Like food is a beautiful, wonderful part of my life and it fuels me and I have a great relationship with it. And I don't have the thoughts of wanting to change my body with my food or again, like harm myself or my body with my food or my exercise. I don't think about food all the time. I don't think about what I'm eating and the calories and like, is it going to do this to me or should I eat this or should I not eat this? Like it's just very peaceful and
Mm.
like very effortless. And some of the things it's allowed me to do is like I went to Italy a couple years ago and I enjoyed every second of it. And I ate what I wanted. And I think a lot of people say that, like, oh, I went to Italy and like I indulged and whatever. And like, sure, but it it just felt so normal. And I ate what I wanted when I wanted it. And I was able to stop when I was full and move on and let it go. And previous trips, I could not do that. I could not enjoy the food or the experience. Um, I I think that it's just allowed me to feel so secure in my own body and trust that my body knows what it's supposed to do with the tools that it's supposed to have, and created this beautiful symbiotic relationship with my body.
Amazing, amazing. And you say you feel normal, and in my experience helping people, it may be normal in air quotes, but it's not common to feel
Right,
that way,
right.
especially
I
for
would
women.
agree. I would agree. I think that, yeah, what is normal, right? I guess maybe that was the wrong word to use, but just um, free of disordered or even distorted thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, yes. And I went to Italy last year actually. And I always say Italy or Canada or wherever I am, that I eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And so people think that includes like all the junk and all the things. And I have to sort of, reel them back in to say,
Yeah.
actually, whatever I want, what I don't want is all the sugary things. I just don't
Yeah.
taste anymore. So it's whatever I want is my definition, right? Not that definition of whatever it is that people imagine, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the misconceptions about intuitive eating is, again, it's just I eat whatever I want whenever I want. And a lot of people I talk to, they're like, well, if that was the case, I would just eat pizza and donuts all the time.
Right.
And it's like, I understand that that's what you think right now because that's where the disorder is leaving you right now, and that's what you feel like you want. But when you go through the process, because I'm the same way as you now, like when I went to Italy, whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted was we had some pasta, we enjoyed some seafood, we had lots of fresh fruit and veg, we enjoyed the wine. Like it was like balanced because I have learned to understand it's not just what I crave, it's what my body wants. And I now have that connection with my body that I can decipher that. And when you can grow that connection, to your point, whatever you want is what makes your body actually feel good. And it's not all that sugar and processed food. Those are lovely sometimes treats, but your body's going to start telling you, I want these other things too. They make me feel good.
Totally, totally. Myself and the ladies I help, sugar's not a treat because it sets us off on a very slippery slope.
Hmm.
So there's no treat involved whatsoever. Yeah. So it's like this, I guess, assumption that we make that, and sometimes that I found that people like experts in intuitive eating also assume that eating no sugar, in my case, and no flour, is in itself disordered eating.
I don't think that's fair. I think that there's a lot of people when you're struggling with diet culture and eating disorders, there's a lot of messages that say don't eat sugar and flour for these reasons, which can be distorted and diet culture. But, I can use myself as an example. I'm a diabetic and I like to include as many foods as I can because they make me happy, but I know that there's some things that I stay away from or eat very rarely, or even don't eat at certain times because of my blood sugars. And it's not about dieting or restricting or disordered eating. It's about, well, but what is my body actually asking for? And you can use the same sort of thought process when you think about things like intolerances and allergies. And that's not a diet, that's not disordered eating. That's understanding that certain foods don't make your body feel good.
Mm,
And it's all about the why behind why you're making the decisions you're making. If you're making them because you want to look like a supermodel on the cover of a magazine, maybe you need to question that. But if you're making the decisions because you're like, I feel my absolute best and I function, then that's amazing.
yeah, yeah, I totally get that. And I'm in my 50s. How old are you? Can I
I'm
ask?
35.
Oh, lovely. Well, I'm 55 and I'm at the age now where I don't care what I look like in a bikini. And I don't actually care about much than other than how I feel.
Yeah.
And if certain foods don't make me feel good, like if I eat anything with flour or wheat flour, gluten, I will be creaky. My joints will be creaky for a
Yeah.
week and painful. I don't want to have pain. I've lived too long now without pain to
Yeah.
want to go back to that.
Yeah. And it's such this is why I got into holistic nutrition specifically versus like I went to school for dietetics when I was younger and I made the transition to holistic nutrition because it is so much more about that. It's about how do you feel, and it's also about understanding what certain foods can do to our bodies, perhaps in a negative way, but also what specific foods can do to our bodies to help support things. If you have something like a gluten intolerance or arthritis or an eating disorder or ADHD or IBS, and like understanding how to use your food as your medicine.
Mm. Yeah, as a support, to help
Yep,
you rather than set you off on a
exactly.
binge or whatever. Yeah, totally. It's so lovely to hear you talk about this so young. For me, you're very young still. And it's like since the age of 29 that you have this effortless relationship with food, right? And it all stems from the emotional need that I guess food was answering. How do you meet your emotional needs now?
I think it shifts a lot. And I think that it's almost always different. And if there's something that perhaps I can leave with you and your listeners is I like to look at we learn about this kind of like intuitive eating and in holistic nutrition, our seven bodies. And I can't remember all seven off the top of my head, but I will start. We have our physical body, which we all know. We
Yeah.
have our social body, our psychological body, our mental body, our spiritual body. We have all these bodies um, and part of what emotional eating can be is one of those bodies feels empty,
Yeah.
but we interpret it as the physical body being empty. So we eat. We eat to fill it up. But because the physical body is not empty, we keep eating and we don't actually feel better or feel full because that's not the body that was empty.
Mm.
So, one thing I try really hard to do is really identify where I'm feeling empty or what I'm feeling. If it's my social body, if it's my psychological body, if it's my emotional body, where am I feeling empty and how can I address it? Do I need to talk to someone? Do I need to go out in nature? Do I need to stimulate my mind with some puzzles or a really interesting book? Do I need to move my body? Do I need to get that aggression out? I really try hard to identify those things. It can be I'm screaming into a pillow because I'm
Mm.
so angry, or I'm going for a bike ride. I'm going to get that adrenaline out, or I'm going to talk to my best friend and we're going to laugh and it's going to be good for the soul.
Mm.
And it takes you a long time to get there for sure. But when you can fill those other bodies, you don't feel hungry
Yeah.
anymore.
That's great. That's a lovely analogy. Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned boredom just before. So
Yeah.
one exercise I give the people I help is to practice being bored,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard, isn't it? Because we're overstimulated
Yeah,
and we just don't know how to be bored, do nothing, no hand to mouth movement. Like,
I know.
yeah. And
It's so hard. And, that's why I said it's all about emotions that we don't feel comfortable holding
yeah,
and we don't feel comfortable being bored. And I have a lot of clients that would say, like, I can't watch TV without eating something. And
right.
like you just said, you need to, we're not comfortable being just like still or with ourselves. And it's a skill. It really is a skill. And I love that you teach people how to be bored or be with themselves. I work really hard with that on my client with my clients as well.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a hard one.
It's a hard one, even for ourselves. So being bored, feeling uncomfortable, getting comfortable with that discomfort, it's a skill. And myself as a teacher, I'm like, well, we can learn pretty much any skill. We're not necessarily super good at all of the skills that
Hmm.
we learn,
Hmm.
like we were talking about learning languages, but it's something that we can develop over time.
Yes.
But I would say only if we allow ourselves to step into the discomfort of learning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's one of those things where when it came to my learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable or comfortable being bored, like I would sit and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I want to do something or I want to move or I want to eat or I want to whatever. And I almost had to like remind myself, like, hold on a sec. What's going to happen though if you're just silent? So I really also learned like it's not an anxiety, it's not a fear. I don't think anything bad's gonna, I just don't like it.
Mm.
And that's when I was kind of like, well, come on. Like I don't like it, but like I can get through it. Like nothing bad is going to happen. I can sit here for 30 seconds and then I can get up and pace the room. And then I can sit here for 60 seconds and then I can go and pet my dog. Like starting small, but really also just realizing like nothing bad is going to happen. You're going to be okay.
Yeah, it's really difficult to get that skill down, but it just takes practice. It really
It does.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had one
Yeah.
piece of advice for, let's say, older people like me who didn't have, I know it wasn't a lucky thing that you had anorexia, but it led you to feeling in control around food early on in your life. Do you have a piece of advice for us older people?
When it comes to which piece?
When it comes to regulating emotions in other ways than with food.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I think that honestly, I think that remembering that like you're never too old and it's never too late to make the changes. And to your point, like it's practice. And there are those other coping mechanisms out there. And it's actually really kind of exciting to discover them because I think you discover parts of yourself that you didn't know existed. You discover interests, you discover power and empowerment that you have. And don't be afraid to practice. Like, I know that one thing I like to tell my clients as well, like, is imagine, you walk into a gym and you try to bench press 200 pounds. You think you're going to do it? Like,
Mm,
no, you have to start with 10 pounds and then you go up to 20. And when you've mastered that, you go up to 30. And you will get to 200, which can be like your most ultimate, like biggest emotion that you can never deal with, your biggest triggering emotion. You'll get there, but you can't walk into coping with emotional eating and tackle that right away and then be upset that it doesn't work. Like really give yourself patience and allow yourself to train that muscle.
fantastic, fantastic. If someone wants to get in touch with you, Meg, how can they do that?
You can find me at my website. It's mindfullymoving.co, or I'm on Instagram as meg.hanks.
Lovely. Thank you, Meg, so much. So inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Mhm. Wow, what a powerful conversation with Meg. And if there's one thing to take away from this episode, it's that you can learn a different way of dealing with your emotions, and food, especially sugar, doesn't have to be the only coping skill. You can learn new skills for dealing with your emotions so that food becomes a source of pleasure in your life instead of a coping mechanism. And this is exactly at the heart of what we do together in my 12-week program, the Freedom from Cravings Formula. Because I created this program specifically for women over 50 to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself. And so that you can get guidance and support to help you stop emotional eating, break free from sugar cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, so that you can live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, feel confident in your food choices, and so that you never have to feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. By the time you're 50 and over, you've spent decades looking after everybody else. And now it's your turn to take care of yourself. So let's chat about your specific needs and why you want to break free from cravings. Go to sugarcravingsfree.com to learn more about the Freedom from Cravings Formula program and to book a free video call with me to see if the program is a good fit for you. Go to sugarcravingsfree.com. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.